Fundraising news, Mumbai-based interior design startup Flip Spaces has bagged $4 million in its pre-Series B funding round, which was led by Prahas Dasheth, the former CEO of IIFL AMC. Now, the funding round, which was a mix of equity and debt, also saw participation from other prominent family groups and funds. Flip Spaces, which is backed by Carpe Diem Capital, said it will utilize the fresh capital to expand its operations on the west coast of the US and strengthen its tech. Joining us now to discuss this further is Kunal Sharma, the founder and CEO of Flip Spaces. Kunal, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. You're an interior design startup, so talk to us about what exactly you have on offer. How are you using tech to make this a seamless process and be more efficient, essentially? And what's the opportunity you see here?
So, foremost, thank you so much for inviting me to the place. So, in a sense, we're working with a pretty unique business thesis, Arundhati. We call ourselves a tech-enabled startup, which is wanting to become a one-stop shop for the interior design and build needs globally for SMEs, right? And you'd understand that, SMEs as a category, globally, there would be close to about 400 SMEs. In India and US, which is the target market currently, there would be close to about 65 million SMEs. So two of the largest markets where small and medium enterprises operate, right? You'd understand that most of these SME owners are not nuanced enough, do not have the domain expertise or the time or the team to handle a fairly complex design and build journey, which starts with interior designing, goes on to handling multiple stakeholders on the product supply side, and then also goes on to handling different kinds of contractors as far as the build management is concerned, right? And unlike large corporates, like I said, these SMEs do not have the domain expertise, neither the team to handle this kind of a workflow. And that's where, Flip Spaces comes in as the first tech-enabled startup, which is looking to become the one-stop shop for these SMEs,
right?
Taking them through the entire design and build journey as the one-stop platform for them, right? And this entire journey is aided by a proprietary tech suite, which is called VisWorld, which is a global first in its own regard,
right?
Which ties up this entire step of interior designing, integrates it with a global first supply chain for institutional buying, and then also ties it up with an ERP, which is built for build management for the SMEs.
All right.
That's fundamentally the thesis within which we are operating. Currently, like I said, we're operating in India and US.
Yeah. Kunal, if you could, so I just want to talk to you about the fundraise a little bit more, and it'd be great if you could tell us crisply. You've raised $4 million in a mix of equity and debt. How much was equity and how much debt? What will you primarily use these funds for?
So, look, the funding has been backed by current investors. There have been a lot of other pedigree family groups who've come in as a part of this particular funding. The debt equity ratio would somewhere be in the 80-20 ratio. We have not so far gone and raised large funds, primarily because, we believe in building the business model with a lot of frugality. And in fact, we're looking at profitability by Q3 of this year, which will allow us to expand on our own cash reserves, right? That being said, the three fundamental areas of deployment, one is to, we've seen tremendous growth in the US as a geography, right? So for the last 3 years, we've been growing with a CAGR of close to about 130, 140%. And an overall CAGR, between India and US, which is touching about 50%, right?
Right.
So for us, US is at the forefront of expansion at this point in time. We want to expand. Currently, we've been operating in the East Coast in the US.
Right.
So we want to expand to the West Coast. We want to expand to regions like Florida, etc. That's one area of deployment. We obviously want to keep on furthering on our tech moat, right? So we want to continue deploying some amount of capital on the unique tech that we're building in order to enable this entire workflow.
Right.
And the third area of deployment is to actually go and deep dive into diversifying our supply chain, thus enabling it to serve a global demand.
All right. Kunal, if you could tell us, what are your revenues currently at? You said profitability by Q3. Where will the next leg of growth come from?
So between India and the US, while I can give you the ratio numbers, right? So like I pointed out, for the last 3 to 4 years, we've been growing at a 45 to 50% CAGR, between India and the US. US, like I pointed out, we've been growing at 130% CAGR, which is almost like 2.5% growth in revenue every year. And most importantly, we've been doing it with a minimal amount of cash burn, which allows the startup to scale frugally, right? Because for us, focusing on frugal scale has been one of the most important parts of our thesis.
Okay. All right, Kunal. We're completely out of time, but thank you so much for joining us on the show. We wish you all the best going forward.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
All right. With that, it's time.